spiritual awakening to inspire your personal enlightened journey. I'm your host, Megan Mary, international best-selling metaphysical author and founder of Inner Realms Publishing. Let's bring in the light. Welcome. Today we have Jen Sankey. She is an author, deck creator, tarot reader, professional witch, and speaker. She blends tarot, lunar magic, and spiritual guidance to create transformative tools. Her work includes the award-winning Stardust Wanderer Tarot, Enchanted Forest Felines Tarot, Manifesting with the Moon, a lunar guide to magic, and the upcoming Goblin Whispers Tarot. Jen shares her knowledge through workshops, events, and online platforms, inspiring others to embrace their intuition and magical potential. Welcome, Jen.
Thank you for having me. Hello, hello.
Yes, I'm excited to talk about all things tarot and cats, of course,
Of course.
today. The first question I'm going to ask is, what does enlightenment mean to you?
Enlightenment means to me, I would say awareness of self. I feel like if you are aware of yourself, it opens you up to be enlightened by others and all these other things going on around you because you have harnessed like mindfulness, being in the moment, so you don't miss any little sparkles that are around you.
Yes, awareness, heightened awareness is
Right.
definitely a good way to put it. Now, I saw your Enchanted Forest felines and I was like, oh, yes, because there were so many cats in there, and one of them looked just like one of mine. And that intuitively told me that you had to come on the show. But I know there's so much more that we're going to talk about. And so take the listeners back to how you came to have your spiritual awakening, how you came to do this work. What happened for you?
To go way back, I was that weird little kid that liked to run around in the woods looking for the fae and making potions with sticks and rocks and whatever I can find. So I guess that's the like baby start of it all. When I was 12, I had gotten my first tarot deck. I didn't really know what I was going to do with it yet, but I had to have it because I had seen it on different movies and anything that was different than the norm, that's what I was attracted to. As a child, I saw a lot of spirits. I had this lady, I called her the white lady, like 'cause she was dressed in white. And so she was around, and as I was getting older, I realized not everybody could see those things. So I had to tuck that inside and not talk about it so much because I was already weird. And as I got to my teen years at 14, I was on my own. I was homeless, not on the streets homeless, more like living at all my friends' houses until their parents kicked me out homeless. So I was just hopping around. And really, it's at that time I had to decide, was I going to just fall into what was expected to happen of me, or was I going to trust my intuition, step into my magic, and really start to move forward and do something different? And since that's what I've been doing, something different all along, that's obviously the path I went. And I was stubborn. I am stubborn. So everyone, was like, oh, you're not going to make it. This is going to happen. That's going to happen. And that stubbornness got me through and really by being stubborn too, you have to trust yourself and you have to really trust yourself. So that was really the beginning for me. And that's what pushed me and guided me to get where I am today, really.
Yes, yes. And that's a similar story, I think, for anyone who walks their own unique path, right?
Mhm.
That's
Totally.
everybody else is telling you that's not gonna work. Don't, that's not how the way it works.
Always.
And that's their, I heard somebody say yesterday, that's their hobby.
Right.
That's their perception, that's their reality based on their limiting beliefs that they are then putting on you, and they're not necessarily true.
Right.
And this is how we are raised. This is the world that we've all grown up in. And the rewilding or the deprogramming or the remembering, whatever you want to call it, is figuring out those people aren't necessarily right. They might not be right at all.
No, most
And
times not.
yeah, and their world is revolving around their beliefs to prove them, but you can stand aside them and believe differently and have different things happen. So
Mhm.
that is really what we talk about here is how reality is an illusion and that it's based on our subconscious beliefs or others that aren't, it's not even ours. We really have so much more potential. And it's the enlightenment piece, recognizing, hey, I don't have to just give this up because someone else says it's a waste of time.
Right.
And that there's so much value in the uniqueness that we each have to bring.
Yeah. No, it's so true. And a lot of times it's one of those things like, why are you so worried about what I'm doing? You need to worry about yourself and what you're doing and how you're doing it. Let me do my thing, you do your thing, not my circus, not my monkeys. And so I think it speaks a lot to when somebody is so strongly trying to impose their views on you and, their beliefs onto you. And it's one of those moments that again, you stop and you're just mindful of what's going on. Okay, I hear what this person's saying, but they're saying it to me, but they're really not saying it to me. They're just trying to convince themselves what is right. So it's a weird discernment there because nowadays most people just they get all mad and they start responding and just out of emotion. So being able to take that step back and think about, okay, this person is coming from a very different perspective. How can I use my words in a way that can be effective and not triggering to them? And sometimes though, there are people, no matter what you say, it's going to be triggering. The minute you disagree with them, that's it. And then I'm probably not going to go too far with this person. So we're going to just end this conversation.
Pick your battles.
Absolutely.
So you started with the tarot, but then I think it probably really blossomed after that. So what happened in terms of writing the book that you have written about lunar magic and understanding the effect that the moon has on us and how we can work with it in our lives?
So, I have always been very conscious of the moon. Like I said, I spent a lot of time outside as a little kid. And even when I was working, when I was 14, I was working as a waitress, very different times. And I'd be walking home at night or I'd be waiting for my boyfriend, who is actually now my husband, to pick me up. And I'm just would be looking up at the sky and up at the moon. And there was always a pull there for me. And I always noticed that I felt differently during when the moon looked different in the sky. At that point, I didn't realize the phases were and all of that. At that point, too, the internet really wasn't a thing. And I know I'm a little dinosaur,
Oh, you're in
but
good company.
yeah. And I went to the library and there's three metaphysical books there. And so I checked out what I could. And one of them was a moon book. One was just about Wicca, and that was really it. So being able to just figure out what the moon was doing up there and the phases of that. And as time went on and the internet caught on, you started to be able to tap into more resources, talk to more people. And I just saw the potential and that framework that was there. And I'm like, I think I could use this for my own good because I didn't have much direction and I had to create my own direction. So by going by the different moon phases and learning the energy of the phases, learning how they affected me, I was able to create this little like map of how I wanted to bring things into my life. And so after teaching this, and I would do when I was reading publicly, I would do readings for people and I would use parts of this and utilize it, test it out. Like when I do tarot readings, you always leave with homework with me. I'm always giving homework. Like we don't just walk away and that's it. There's homework to be done. So I would implement some of these things that I would use in my own life and say, let me see if it works for this person. And I would give them little bits about the moon and working with the moon. And I would get really good feedback. Just over time, I just slowly developed this system to manifest with the moon. And when that was learning about energy work, I'm a Reiki master, I do crystal healing. all of those things. So by learning the modalities, learning about the moon, using tarot, I just brought it all in. And as a practicing witch, of course, I do spell work, candle magic, all of those things. And I just wanted to be able to put it all in one place for someone who maybe hasn't worked with the moon at all or has limited experience, who has not done any spell work, any creating a moon altar, working with goddesses, any of those things. And I just wanted to bring it into nice package that was easy to use. And everything in my book, too, is stuff that you can easily acquire. There's a lot of things online that people that I've heard, like they get different books or they go in different programs, and some of the items are so hard to get or they're really expensive, and you only need a little tiny bit for your candle spell. And you're like, I don't know if I want to spend $50 on a little pouch of herbs. So I really like being practical, and so being able to get what you need outside is always the best place, but you can easily go to the dollar store, get all your witchy supplies you need and all your moon manifesting supplies, because I wanted to make sure that you will do it. Because a lot of times that's where people get stuck, is they look at these things and they're like, oh, I need this, I need that. Oh, this is just too much. Never mind, I'm not going to do it. So I make it very choose your own adventure. If you want to try it, try it. If you don't have to, because you know what? There's going to be another moon cycle and you can always try it then.
Yeah, I personally found that a lot of traditions can be very regimental to the point that it felt like the one I was leaving.
Exactly.
And I didn't want to feel that restricted. I wanted it to be more organic, where I was just choosing things because I felt that they should go together. Rather, you have to have the green candle and the spring, all this kind of stuff, because in, then you're losing that authentic connection to those things. And you're not allowing like your intuition to take part in it either. And sometimes I think that people get too caught up in the laundry list, like the recipe list. Yeah, if you equate it to cooking, it's okay, yes, it's going to taste good if you follow the recipe, but if you follow the recipe every time, you're not going to become a great chef. You need to learn how to work with all the
Right.
different ingredients and start to experiment. So
Right, right.
I think that there's opportunity there, and I like that you're making it accessible in a way that, like you said, people, I don't want to have to spend $50 for a little bit of mugwort. I can't have, you have to accumulate so much. And so it allows to work with nature in the way that it was intended. And you're going out into the forest and finding things for that day. So
Yeah, yeah.
making that connection to nature. And we've talked about it on the podcast before. I've had a number of people who are either paying attention to the moons or the astrological occurrences that are happening or the
Mm,
planetary occurrences that are happening right now as we're recording this and when it's coming out. We're in Mercury retrograde, which is a time that if anybody is familiar with my books, they're all set at Mercury retrograde. And it's an important time to be aware of, just like in the moon cycles, because if you are aware of them, you can, what do I want to say, taper your resistance. Know that there's going to be difficulties and delays and things happening, then you can go, oh, okay, this is temporary. It's just because this is happening, and we need to just settle down for this period to go through. And similarly with the phases of the moon, if you're trying really hard to start something and it's the waning time, maybe you should wait till it's waxing. There's ways that you can really correspond your strategies
mm.
with the phases of the moon. If you are enjoying my podcast and are intrigued by dreams and stories of spiritual awakening, I would like to personally invite you to explore my international best-selling metaphysical trilogy, Witches of Maple Hollow. Like a mystical fairy tale, These fall-themed mysteries weave cozy supernatural fantasy into enchanting tales of magic and self-discovery. Start with Book 1, The Dream Haunters. The Book Life Prize calls it packed to the brim with surprise portals, ancient traditions, and dream worlds. Then dive into the elusive nature of reality in the dream mirrors. And finally, unravel ancestral riddles beyond time and space in the dream dimensions. Get your exclusive signed copies today at meganmary.com. Stop by the store while you're there and grab your dream journals, cozy blankets, pillows, candles, and more. And don't forget, they also are available in audiobook. Come visit me in Maple Hollow.
And a lot of times, which is another thing that I noticed that people have struggled with, is new moon comes and they create their intention. And then halfway through, they're like, you know what? I don't think I really need this anymore. This isn't really what I want. So for me, in my book, the full moon's usually release and all of those things. But with this, it's more of a balance. So with each moon phase, there's tarot card related to it. So with this one, I have the sun and the moon because I want you to rebalance at that point. Is this really what you want? Is it going how you want it to go? If you want to change your intention at that point, change it. It's fine. Like it's totally okay. And a lot of people they get so stuck on, I made the intention on the new moon, so I got to stick through it the whole time. If it changes halfway through, that's actually a good thing. That means you're doing the work that you need to do. You're growing as a person and your needs are changing. And maybe you've touched on a couple of shadow aspects that needed to be touched on. So at the end of the cycle, that intention may not have actually happened, but you did so much work that you didn't even want what you did a couple of weeks ago. And now you've opened yourself up to receive something even better. Because when we're manifesting, when we're doing that, I'll say what I want or something even better. We always want to put that out there that, yes, I don't need to be in this little box of what I want. I could this. And again, then I'll repeat it later, something better. And that's really important. And what I'd like to do too is each chapter has a lunar mind, spirit, body, because I think it's important to embody every part of yourself. Because if you're just working with spirit and you're just working with spell work and that's it, you're missing two other parts of yourself. And you want to be fully integrated so that you, again, are open to receiving, letting the universe know that you're ready to receive. And that just opens so many pathways for you. And being able to do that throughout the whole cycle really it's getting to know yourself a little bit better, and you really grow and you start to really know what it is that exactly that you want, because a lot of times we start out saying this is what I want, this is what I want, and it's really not what we want. So by going through there's like over 120 exercises, rituals, all sorts of things, and you don't have to do every single one, but try it. If it doesn't resonate with you, then don't do it again. Or I have each chapter for each phase, I have correspondences. Today I had made a post about the different crystals you can use. And what I have are just suggestions. If you get to the waxing crescent and you're like, you know what, I really want to work with an aura quartz because I just want some sparkly energy as things are winding down, then go ahead and do that. Just because I didn't suggest it, but again, it's trying to keep everyone from like that overwhelm of, I don't know where to start. So if you don't know which one to work with, I give you some suggestions and you can start there. And as you build your practice, and that's why we call it a practice, because you try it out, see if it works. Okay, this worked, this didn't work. Let's try something else. But don't be afraid to try things that you don't think you'll like. Because a lot of times if you try it, you might not love it, but it might give you another idea for something else. Or somebody you're talking to will say, oh, I tried this, it didn't really work for me. And you're like, oh, you know what? I tried it, didn't work for me, but maybe it'll work for them. And then you can share that information.
Yes, yes, true enough. And I want to touch on manifesting in particular,
Mhm.
because A lot of people are attempting to do that. A lot of people are really trying to harness how that is done. And there's a lot of differing opinions about how it can be most effective
Mhm.
and mindset, being open to receive, getting rid of your blocking beliefs. But talk a little bit about what you feel is the most effective way to manifest.
Even having the word manifest in my title, I was a little, because it's blown up so much on the internet now. And it's manifest this in 3 days, manifest, I'm a coach and I manifest for you for 10 grand and all of these things. And it's confusing. And it's one of those words that could give you the ick. And I really wanted to bring it back down. And no, let's get to the basics. And in order to manifest, you do need to do the work regardless. You need to take action steps. You can't just wish it out into the universe and it's not going to show up at your door in 3 days. It's just not going to happen. People win the lottery, your chances, they're pretty slim, but it can happen. I'd rather have it so that I know it's going to happen, and that's by taking those action steps. But it also comes down to feeling safe receiving. And a lot of people want things, but they don't actually feel safe receiving those things. So as we go through the different phases, we're also working on that. And really, your beliefs, your limiting beliefs, let's tap into that a little bit. Let's work on what feels safe to you, what doesn't feel safe to you, where can you push a little bit? Because if you don't go out of your comfort zone either, you're not going to manifest anything because you're just going to stay in that little bubble. You need to baby steps. Like I feel a little bit stretchy. It makes me feel a little anxious, a little nauseous. Then yes, do it. But if you're going to go into a full blown panic attack, probably not a good time. So I think that's just some really important points to make about that. And you need to manifest yourself. Somebody else can't do it for you. And that's one of those things, it seems so simple, but I have had to tell so many people that they're like, I need to get this person and I need the help of this. And you need to really feel it in your body and feel where those sticky parts are. Why do you feel that way? Let's dive into that. Pulling some cards, maybe doing some breath work, that sort of thing. And again, it's just really about feeling safe to receive, doing the work, taking those action steps, and working on your intuition and believing in yourself.
Yes, all great advice. And I'm a huge advocate of harnessing the intuition, which is why really promote dream work and feel that is one of the easiest pathways to our intuition.
Mhm.
And now more than ever, it's important to listen to our own interior voice to make the subconscious conscious. And we are tending to look outside ourselves, like you said, but I need this from over here, and I need this from over here, and I haven't done XYZ, and I'm not following the regimented, prescribed way of doing things. And so you're always seeking the answer outside, where intuition comes from within and it comes in the quiet moments.
Right.
So, really beginning to practice journaling, like you said, breath work, centering, and doing the work, which sometimes can be the shadow work, to remove the things that are keeping you from being able to receive. If you don't believe it's possible for you, because that's what everyone in your life has told you up until now, you're carrying that belief, you've made it your own.
Right.
And that is going to prevent you from receiving until you decide to think differently. And that isn't always something that's done on the conscious level.
Right.
You can't change something consciously that is living subconsciously. Once those things get ingrained and we adopt them and we hold them as our own, then we need to go back into the subconscious to address those and change them there. And For me, that is the beauty of dream work because it allows us to really get into those places that consciously we're in denial of. We're not really aware of them. We're thinking, oh no, I don't believe that. I'd be okay with it. But at the same time, you're still resisting.
Hmm. Yep.
And so to really be able to manifest or receive abundance or step into your full abilities, get those clear abilities to the fore, you have to start at the deeper level.
And really, in the first part of the book, it's called Preparation, and it talks
Mhm.
about all of those things. We're talking about mindfulness, we're talking about journaling, we're talking about dream work, we're talking about
Mhm.
intuition, how to work with your intuition to strengthen it. And there's all different exercises you can try, different things you can try because you want to secure your base before you start calling more stuff into it. So I think, and that's really where that it's so important to make sure that your base is solid, because as you're going through and you're calling in all these other things, it's going to shift and you're going to shift, and need to be able to consciously and subconsciously handle that. So by doing that little bit of prep work beforehand can make all the difference.
Absolutely, because you mentioned the lottery earlier, and most of the people that win the lottery have not done the work, and it goes as easily as it comes, and they
Right.
end up back where they were
Right. Like all
because
crazy things happen to people who win the lottery. You always see them, they win it, and it's all, and then some weird, crazy thing happens to them. So that's like one of those things. Like, at least if I know I did the work and I took the time and I know how I'm feeling about it and my base is secure, then it's like you feel good about it. And because when something's just dropped in your lap, then you do, because we've been conditioned to feel like, okay, now we owe somebody somewhere something. And then that's not a good feeling either. And you don't want to feel like the other shoe's going to drop if something good happens to you. And if you're
right.
somebody that always feels like that, you need to head to part one of the book and you need to start working through some of that stuff before you start really manifesting and bringing stuff in. And again, it's just slowing down. And that's why I love to work with the moon phase, because you got a whole month. You got 20 days ish. So you have to slow down. It isn't like that 3 days and done. It isn't a 7 days and done. This is a process, and that's really the best way to integrate it.
And I find it so interesting that there's actually 13 months, but they have changed the calendar on us to
Right.
get us to not pay attention to the moon cycle. So there's a lot of history there, and tarot itself is so ancient. And when
Yeah.
you look into the ancient history of tarot, it goes way back. It doesn't get the historical credence it deserves in terms of how long it has been around and how much it was revered back in the day. Same with dreams. Look at the Egyptians. They built pyramids for people to go into to dream.
Right.
And pharaohs had dream workers that they would consult about their strategy. It was very much considered of high importance. And
I think it's one of
now,
the
yeah,
first sources of divination is dream work.
yeah. And
Definitely.
of course they knew that cats were gods. And
Of
now,
course.
now
Yes.
we have lost that. And
Yeah.
so there's a lot to be learned. To say that, oh, that was centuries ago and they were wrong. No, there's a lot to be learned from these ancient societies. In terms of dream work, I love to hear what others' experiences have been in their spiritual awakening with dreams, because for me, it played a huge part. Have you had that experience as well?
I actually do a lot of dream work. I'm really big on dream work, and that's why I'd include it in my book too, because I do think it is such a great source of information and a great source of just tapping into these different energies. If you work with a certain goddess, just communicating with them through your dreams. And there's a couple exercises in there too, just even pulling a tarot card. And if you want to harness the archetype of a tarot card, like just putting it by your bedside before you go to bed and just setting that intention. Is there any information that you can share with me on how I could harness this card or whatever it is? And I feel that a lot of people, they feel a little silly doing it at first. And I get it, that's fine. We do a lot of silly things, but it's tapping into that unconscious and you're asleep. So your physical body, your conscious body is kaput for the night. So it leaves that space to play a little bit more. And a lot of times I will speak to goddess through dreams. If there's something that I'm really troubled by or I'm stuck on. A lot of times if I'm writing, I will kind of replay where I'm stuck in my head and ask for some guidance. That works wonders. You write, so I'm sure you've done
Oh,
that one too.
yes.
And yeah, and I think it's just a great way for people to even harness their and work on their intuition. And it's easy. You just set that intention before bed and you wake up and you write it right away. And I think that's the hardest part to tell people is just try not to move too much. Grab your phone or whatever before you move too much and just write it down really quick. I'm like, voice on your phone works great too if you can't see because you don't have your glasses on or something. Because the minute you start moving around, poof, it's gone. And
Yes.
that
I think it's the
conscious
blood flow.
mind,
Hmm.
yeah, the conscious mind just wakes up and pushes it all out. So I think that's the hardest part when I'm teaching people, and they'll be like, "Oh yeah, that's it," but then I got up quick because I had to do this and it was gone. And I'm like, okay, well, try again. And it's developing that habit. It is a practice. Again, it's a habit and just getting used to that and being able to work that into your morning routine, I think is really important. And I think there's just so many answers there.
I agree so much. I wasn't prepared for how many people, when they heard me talk about dream work, wanted to know how to recall them because they didn't. I was shocked because I recall so many that I just choose not to. Right now, I can remember the one that I had last night that I didn't write down, but I can still
Mm-hmm.
remember it because I sat there long enough and replayed it. So it's that hanging out in that space. And I almost refer to it as dream compiling. It's meditating before you wake up and going back and compiling everything that happened in that dream, replaying the scenes, because once you do that, it brings it over. And
Mm-hmm.
then it's part of this mentality, part of this brainwave state. And then you can recall it readily at any point during the day. And it's something that I guess I've practiced for so long that, yeah, I remember almost all of them each.
Right.
And that's, you don't have to. You don't have to work with every single one. I think once people start to get the dream work all going, it's like overwhelming.
Oh, it
A lot of
can be
people
for
are on the
sure.
other end where they're like, I don't dream or I
Yes,
don't
I
know how to
don't
remember
dream.
them. Yeah. And you really do have to capture it. It's so fleeting. And I will always convince myself, nah, I'll for sure remember that. And then, no.
Yeah, especially when you're starting out. Like you said, after you do it a while, you condition yourself and you're able to bring that over a little bit easier. And
Hmm.
I feel that people might hear other people say, "Oh yeah, I always remember my dreams." Oh, I always, but they don't realize that these people have been working with their dreams for years. And so
Hmm.
they're like, "Wait, I so and so said that." And again, it's that going outside yourself. And it's no, this is you and this is what you need to worry about. Don't worry about what everyone's doing. And by doing that, just consciously taking the time to replay it, to write it down real quick, speak it into your phone if you have to. After a
Yes,
while, it does get a lot easier for sure.
it does.
Hmm.
Yes. Yes, and I feel it's a practice that everyone should try to do and that is not taught to us at all.
No,
We're,
it's not.
we're, we're not taught to value them or to pay attention to them. And there's even people out there who say, oh, we shouldn't be doing that, that there's a reason that they're kept in the memory and that we don't remember them, that when we wake up, it's wiped. And I disagree. I think
Yeah.
it's part of the veil that we're here to reveal.
And that kind of speaks a lot to even people that they're afraid to tap into that because
Hmm.
they're afraid. of what they may see and what they may have to deal with. And
Right.
that's something to consider. Okay, yeah, we have to do the work. No matter
Mm-hmm.
what we're doing across the board, we do, and we can ignore it and ignore it. But then we're like, why aren't these things happening to me? Why can't I manifest? Why am I creating this practice, but nothing seems to be working? Why am I trying to write down my dreams, but I'm not really getting anything? Because you have to do the work. There are shadowy parts, about us. Our moon sign is all about our inner selves, the selves we don't want people to see. So if you're working with the moons, if you're working, figuring out, which is easy to do nowadays, what your moon sign is, and being aware of that, I think is really an interesting thing. And then also being aware of people around you, like family members, like even what their moon signs are, because it's easier to talk to them and know what their emotions are a little bit easier and how they process emotion. So by understanding your moon sign and just the different signs of the zodiac of the moon, then you can understand other people a little bit better too.
Mm-hmm. Yes. It's like the personality assessments or the human design or any of those systems that help us not only validate our way of thinking and living and reacting, but it also helps explain others and how we operate differently in the world. And it helps us have a little bit more compassion
Right.
when we disagree for the different perspectives that we all carry with
Mm-hmm.
us.
Right.
So,
And it helps you understand yourself better too. And I am an Aries moon. And so I'm a fiery moon. So I could flare up like that if somebody, so I know that about myself. So I'm like I used to tell my kids, stop, breathe, count to three. Okay, now we can move on. And it's just knowing that, but also knowing that I'm a very passionate person and very stubborn. And that also has carried me through. And I think it's important also to even know what phase you were born under. I think
mhm.
that means a lot. And knowing that, because that's another the flip side of that moon coin. Okay. So I was born under the harvest full moon. And so I know that when I know, so that full moon energy, and maybe somebody I know who was born under a waning gibbous moon, they're going to look at things a little bit deeper. Actually, my oldest son, he was born under a waning gibbous moon, and he is a very deep person. He's a very deep thinker, and he really holds his emotions. So it makes sense to me. Okay, I see. If I have to have a difficult discussion with him, I know how to approach it a little bit better. Like I understand and I know what I can say and how I could use my words to maybe get through to him a little bit better. And then you can use that in all areas of your life and with different people you meet. You're not necessarily going to ask everybody you meet what their moon sign is or what moon they're born under. But for those people that are closest to you and mean a lot to you and you want to be able to really have good, full conversations with them, it is helpful.
That's great advice. In closing, what tips do you have either about manifesting with the moon or about the tarot that you'd like to pass along to the listeners?
I think with both of them actually is take your time to learn the basics and don't rush it. With tarot, we have 78 cards with a lot of business going on. Take the time to get to know the cards. Take the time to know the basics, the history, all of those things because it will only make your readings deeper and more insightful. Because when you add your layer of intuition on top of it, it just gives you so much more information to take from and help whoever you're reading for or yourself. And that kind of goes along with the moon, like learning about the phases, learning about where what they look like in the sky, getting a moon app and checking it daily. And also, before you even start any sort of manifesting with the moon or anything, just go through one moon cycle and every day write how you feel with each phase, because that will also help you when you are creating action steps when you do get to the part of manifesting and creating your steps for your intention. You know that if maybe the first quarter moon's usually big action, but for you in the first quarter moon you feel a little sluggish, you have to make a big action. So you at that point you could design it. All right, what big action can I take as I'm a slug on the couch? So maybe that's going to be research, maybe that's going to be sending out big emails or something like that, and then you can really curate it to work best for you, and that's what it's there for.
Hmm. Okay, I like that. And let's tell everybody where they can find you and your books.
You can find me really if you Google Jen Sankey. I'm a pop up on all the things. Stardust Wanderer Tarot. I do a lot of stuff on Instagram. And I have Manifesting by the Moon is out now. Enchanted Forest Felines is out now. Stardust Wanderer Tarot is out now. Goblin Whispers Tarot, probably in another year or so. And I have a couple other things popping in the works. So if you follow me, you'll get all the updates.
Excellent. Thank you for being here today, Jen, and
Thanks for
sharing
having
your
me.
journey as well as all the wonderful things you're doing out in the world.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate it. Thank you for listening. Did you enjoy this episode? You can now send me a text message and share your experience. Be sure to subscribe to make sure you never miss an episode. Head over to my YouTube channel and hit that subscribe button as well to be part of my growing community. Are you ready to take the next step in your spiritual journey? Don't miss out on the new Dream Empowerment programs. Unique opportunities for you to unlock your inner wisdom, discover your authenticity, align with your higher self, and bring abundance into your life. If you'd like your dream or awakening story featured on my show, submit it today. Your dreams have the power to inspire and enlighten other women on their journey. Visit meganmary.com to find out more.